Investment portfolio update, July 2023, our monthly portfolio allocation letter, and it's more of the conviction growing stronger. And just in the last month or two, I felt just psychologically, just really diving deep into the psychology of things and how people think. And there's some great books about things like that. Evolutionary Psychology is a great book, but then there's the behavioral investing by, I believe it's Daniel Crosby. And there's another great book of his too that I can't remember now. I read it a few years ago. But getting into the psychology of human beings and why we do the things we do, and not only that in trading and investing or what have you, but just in life in general. And things like as small as buy low, sell high. Most people know to do that, but do most people do it? No, because of greed and fear, the two strongest emotions when we are in investing and just kind of life in general. We're making decisions, when we're making political decisions, when we are deciding whether to agree or disagree with the government and what they're telling us to do, or doesn't matter what it is, right? That's the psychological aspect of things. Money is psychological. Politics is psychological. Relationships are psychological. Everything is psychological. And when you start understanding that, we start to really unlock what we're truly doing and what we're after in life, and how to submit to truth, as the Village Idiot says, one of my good buddies, and not accepting truth, not denying truth, but submitting to truth and using nature's law and using God's laws in our favor and for us, and to move closer to his vision and his calling for us. So, and because again, the reason that's important is because that's when we're in harmony. That's when we're in our genius zone, when we're doing what God's called us to do. We're doing what nature's laws intend for us, and how we are best utilized, how our talents are best utilized, our energy is best utilized in the world. That's part of this, using the other 90% of your brain. Most people don't use the other 90% because they're not in harmony with what nature wants for them, with what God wants for them, why God put them here on this earth. And that's, I can't help but feeling that our calling isn't to just wake up every single day, punch in and punch out, and get on the rat wheel. I don't think that's why humans were put on this earth. Call me crazy, call me a lunatic, call me a conspiracy theorist. I can't help but think that God's plan for us was to just punch in and punch out every day. Do you? Truly, in your heart of hearts, God hires from a creation, and we're there just to be on the rat wheel? And somewhere along on the way, many people just chose not to go into their calling. Many of us have done it. We've all done it. I've run from my calling for a long time, and we all tend to do it because of scarcity, the scarcity mindset, not having enough, lack, not having too much a month at the end of your money. So you go in just for another paycheck, or you go do things against your will or against your morals, your ethics, your ethos, because, well, you just need to get by. You just need to get going on. And as God says, see the birds in the sky, I provide for them, don't I? So why wouldn't I provide for you? Again, my biggest creation. And I think it's that faith, that true trust is what I'm really starting to come into over the last few months at a totally different level, and understanding that God will provide. Pick up your cross and put down your life. And boy, is that hard. And many have had it much harder than I. And I'm just truly scratching the surface with what that truly means, and doing what God intends me to do, and trying to live my ethos, my morals every single day, and trying not to compromise on those at all. And that's a lot tougher than it sounds when you really sit back and think about it. Whether it's the things you're watching, the things you're consuming, putting in your mind, the thoughts you're telling yourself, the things you're saying about yourself or other people, and on and on and on. It's not just egregious things like taking someone out or something like that. It's a lot of the little things that kind of chip away at us all the time. So before we go into any more side tangents, that's what I've been thinking about lately. I want you to know that, because that's how my investing is structured, quite honestly, in our portfolio allocation and controlling assets and being outside of third parties for the most part, and I don't invest in things like, there's some people I follow and they're like, oh, we invest in this Chase index or ETF, things like that. And it's like, that's great. It's a 8%, 10, 12% return, or what, a monthly or quarterly or annually. That's awesome. But I don't believe in the things they invest in. I don't believe in McDonald's. I don't believe in Coca-Cola. I don't believe in destroying humanity just so I can make a few dollars. I just don't believe in that. And that's the choice I make. So this goes back to this whole ethos of really dissecting what we're doing. And if I don't believe in something and the way life is going, then I need to stop putting energy toward that. And that's the Bitcoiner ethos as well. That's having a faith. That's religious people try to do that. Bitcoiners try to do that. And that's the ethos I'm trying to live out going forward. How can I build a new world I want to see instead of putting energy into this old, collapsing, fiat, disgusting world we're in? So our little ones were in the pew the other day at Mass. Now I'm reading the article. And we were there putting some dollars into the offering, into the basket, a little charity, and I want them to be involved. So we give them some dollars and they put them in the basket. And the two oldest girls, 7 and 5, looked up and said, "Those are fake dollars." I was like, shh, you cannot say that out loud right now, because some people don't understand that or don't believe that, girls. They've done this 3 weeks in a row now. So this wasn't just the only time, unfortunately. So this has been a recurring theme here. So other than them not listening to me and saying, please don't say that, multiple weeks in a row, which, they forget, I guess I'll give them a pass. They asked why. I told them that life is complicated and that not everyone is taught the same way or has the same access to the same information. They must also trust and verify what is happening in their life and what they're being taught. Trust but verify what I'm saying when you get older. This blew my mind apart in 2010, 14 years ago, 2009, 2010, after the financial crisis, and seeing the uniparty unveiled to me, seeing that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party were on the same side, the things I had been fighting for in the Republican Party, for the Republic, for Lincoln's party, for the party of freedom, of liberty, of staying out of people's lives, protecting all forms of life, and staying out of people's lives, period. And that party was not there. As a kid growing up, middle school, high school, and college, I thought it was there, but it was just all talk. It was all Republican in name only. All rhinos. It was a wake-up call that I needed. I needed to see that Bush came in and started the bailouts. Well, I'm against them bailouts, but you're over here doing them. That's because you're cronies, the people behind the scenes, the puppeteers, the Hank Paulsons of the world, the Goldman Sachs, the JP Morgans, the Morgan Stanleys. Well, they are telling them, well, the world is going to end, George, if you don't do this. So George gave in. Came in, put us on the platform, and Obama came in and opened the platform, dropped the platform out from under us. And that's the uniparty. It's the Mitch McConnells, Lindsey Grahams, the Nancy Pelosi's, and the Adam Schiffs. It's the people that are all on the same team. They're all on the same team. And until we understand that, we're going to have a very hard time. We're going to be in this circular firing squad, just firing at each other. Polarization, division, hate, fear, anger. That's what they want. That's what people at the top want. They want you so divided and so distracted that they can pull this theft on you daily without you even noticing. And then you go in, you argue all night, and then you go in and punch in, and then you work for 8 hours and you punch out, and then you go home and argue, and you sit there and watch fantasy sports and TV, and you just distract yourself. And you don't even understand the game that's being played. Going to work for, quite honestly, no reason. Paying taxes for no reason. When the government, literally the Federal Reserve in 1946, the thing I've shared many, many times, American Affairs article, Beardsley Rummel, the Fed head of the New York Board of Governors, which is the largest board, reserve bank under the central bank, under the Federal Reserve, said that the title of the article is "Taxes for Revenue Are Obsolete," and literally said we only make you pay it just to coerce people and to redistribute, like communism, redistribute the taxes to who we see fit. Equity, this fake grandeur of equity, and to coerce people into doing things, political reasons. That's it. We don't need tax money from you. But we do it to keep you at bay, to have this psychological operation over you, to mind control you, that we need those taxes from you, and that you got to do that. If you don't do it, well, then you're a criminal. There's a whole different tangent to get down, but until we truly understand this, why aren't we taught these in school? Why wasn't this taught to us in school? Is it maybe because they're government-run schools? Government-run institutions, institutions of higher learning? Is that maybe why the government-run schools don't tell us the government operations that are going on behind the scenes and how your money works? The same money that, again, Keynes, and who I generally never agree with, from 100 years ago, and Henry Ford said that, if people knew the monetary system, there'd be revolution in the morning. Is that the same money? Yes. Unfortunately, it is. Simply put, the money is backed by nothing. It's backed by nothing now. After 1964 and 1971, the money is backed literally by nothing. Confidence. It's a con game. The root word of confidence, con game. Making it a currency. So they took the money out of the currency. The dollar is no longer money. So you're saving debt. Why would you save debt? Why would you save a liability? That's why people can't get further ahead the last 50 years since 1971, because they're saving a liability they think is an asset. Now the problems start coming to light. So the money is backed by nothing. It's just currency now. They've taken the store of value function out of it, making it easy now for the puppeteers at the top to inflate it away and slowly steal all your wealth, your time and energy, because that's all money is, a container for your time and energy. If you've been here for any length of time, we've talked about this a lot. The fundamentals are the most important. This allows people in positions of power, like we said, to control the masses with endless fear campaigns and propaganda while keeping most people poor. So they're helpless and subjected to this endless torture. I have invested and educated myself on the ways around this. And nothing's foolproof, nothing's perfect, but it's the best we have. It's the best we have. And we have the antidote now. I don't know what we'd be doing if we didn't have, well, the country doesn't have faith. Most people aren't religious anymore, and we didn't have Bitcoin until 2009. So I don't know what we'd be doing otherwise. And this is where we'll get into more, and I've been asked recently, like, do you think Bitcoin is divinely inspired? Do you think it was put here by God? Or do you think it was divinely inspired? And I do. I just, you can't help but think, the more you research it, you can't help but think it was at least divinely inspired. It's very interesting to see at the very time that things were completely collapsing, that Bitcoin all of a sudden came into the picture. So again, my channels, my blogs, my videos, everything, my content, social media are all based around this simple fact. Educating the people, myself, and then sharing what I'm educating myself on and sharing that with other people. Freedom isn't easy to take or to keep. It requires citizens who are plugged in and care about their children's future. Here is our freedom portfolio and how it's currently looking. And again, you can check the link in the description here for the blog if you want to go see the breakdown of charts and what things look like. So please go there, please subscribe to that. I think you'll get a kick out of it, just the monthly portfolio allocation that we do to see how we've 15x their net worth over the last 14 years. Ever since that thing happened, that crisis happened, my entire life changed. The entire thing changed because of what happened there. And I said, I have to get focused on this game and how it's being played and how we're all being played. I have to understand money. I have to learn money. I have to learn the language of money. And that's what I set out to do, and that's what I did. And that's what I'm sharing with you here over the last number of years, and what I will continue to do in the future. I'm going to start showing you how we teach the children, doing little clips, probably on a separate channel, but how we're teaching the children and what we're doing there. And in the future, I'll be adding in a section regarding art, guns, ammo, food storage, things like that, and other assets I own to give you a better sense overall, the broadest picture possible of what is actually happening. And again, this is 15x our net worth over the last 10 years. Because when you are outside the system and what they want you to be in, 401k, pension, ETF, bonds, bond market, then you can outdo what the government is putting out there for you. Not that difficult. And I don't spend much time on it, quite honestly, allocating my resources. It's pretty easy. It probably takes more time to write this letter every month than it does to actually do the investing. And I've done a lot of different investing, the raising money to real estate and things like that. That's great and all. That's great, but not many people can do it. Who can help? How can we help the most amount of people? That's my goal. Real estate, unfortunately, doesn't help very many people. It takes a lot of time, a lot of experience. So you can go there, check the link in the description so you can see the allocation, how it changed actually from the last month too. It changed a bit from the last month. So you can see those pie charts and how that's broken down. But please subscribe to it as well. And it's free as the time being, or eventually it'll be, maybe a paid version later on that has more access and things like that. But it's not yet. So it's free for now. Bitcoin, not crypto. So the first asset class here. Bitcoin is up 80% this year. And I really can't stand talking about price of Bitcoin, quite honestly. But most people do. And we all do at the beginning. So that's fine. And we have to talk about it. But, I get a lot of heat when it goes down. Like all last year, people give me heat. Like, oh, you still got Bitcoin, huh? Hey, how's that Bitcoin doing? And, unfortunately, what people don't understand is that one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. It's the price of the fiat. Fiat is volatile, and that's what's going up and down. That's the moving goalpost. The interest rate's moving all over, and they're printing more, and then there's less. So it's fiat that you can start seeing is the real volatile thing. Bitcoin doesn't change. There's only going to be 21 million. It's the same thing every single day, every 10 minutes, every year. It's the same thing. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. The price of the fiat and the value of fiat is what goes up and down. So that's why it looks like Bitcoin is changing. Bitcoin doesn't change at all. Remember, you don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you. So I have to mention it when it's ripping higher, right? I have to mention it. Governments of the world are planning on you not being aware and being unprepared for the monetary transition coming. Prepare early and often, dollar cost averaging your savings just like you would normally save, except this time in the hardest asset known to man, not depreciating dollars. Dollar cost average, or DCA, just means buying a certain preset amount each week regardless of what's going on. We have about 36% in Bitcoin currently. And again, you can see these pie charts. Go to the description here, click the bottom where the Substack link, and it goes right to the Substack, and you can find it there. And I expect most of our portfolio to become, it's only 36% now, but I expect most of our portfolio to be in Bitcoin. That's a fair amount right now. It's over a third of our portfolio is in Bitcoin. And that's way higher than the average person, right? But I expect it to be 99+% of our portfolio in the coming years here as Bitcoin continues to eat the lunch of all the other asset classes and absorbs monetary premium. So the monetary premium that goes and hides, people have dollars and they go sell their dollars to put it into all these other assets because they don't want the dollar long term. So they go put it into real estate, they go put it into bonds, they go put it into gold, silver, they go put it into stocks. So they're trying to hide from the dollar. They're trying to sell their dollars, get out, and then buy assets. Well, as those dollars come back out of those assets, the monetary premium, not the utility, but the monetary premium of those, they will flood into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the hardest money. Now you have an actual money you can store and increase your value, your purchasing power long term. So now you'll have fair prices come back to the bond market. You'll have fair prices come back to real estate. Or instead of the median price home being $400,000 or $500,000 in the country, it'll be $200,000. So now the average person will be able to afford a house, or a new home buyer will be able to afford a house. Or the bond market, you'll have all this cash leaving the bond market. The bond market will eventually collapse and it'll just be Bitcoin. But in the meantime, it'll become more profitable to own bonds because we'll be paying a yield of 5% or 10% or 15% because we have cash leaving. So when cash leaves, the bond price goes down, so the yield goes up. So you have fair market value return to all these assets. It's a pretty beautiful thing, to be quite honest. Real estate, positive cash flow, rental real estate. We had a few offers coming in our Redford property, accepted one and still continue to show it because we told them, hey, you're an investor, so we're gonna keep showing it. You have to agree to that, and they did. So we'll see what happens here because they're gonna be redoing the property and stuff like that. Again, this is the only property we have not been able to redo, and it's part of the reason why we're selling it, and just in a jurisdiction we don't wanna be in, and just a lot of issues with it. So I just don't wanna be there. Much of these funds we put into digital real estate, Bitcoin. The other handful of properties we have been pretty reliable, but there are still things here to here that come up from time to time. Certainly a long-term play in real estate. And again, this is why apartment housing, self-storage, things like that, looking more into the future of doing that with Austin, some of our friends we have, and especially when you can pay in Bitcoin and raise money in Bitcoin and get paid in Bitcoin from the tenants, and this beautiful symbiotic ecosystem. We have 31% currently in rental real estate. And again, in the near to medium future, that'll probably go down a bit over time here, especially when we sell this property and stuff like that. Commodities, gold, silver, oil, uranium, copper, wheat, corn, etc. No change here. These next couple are really not much change. Primary assets with no counterparty of where you want to control your wealth. Control is a massive characteristic smart investors use for their investing. And central banks are still in that gold buying spree. So there is some credence there to what's going on. So we have to kind of keep an eye on that. It's down a little bit this month, 15% in commodities this month. Paper, stocks, bonds, IRA, stuff like that. We really don't have any of that stuff. Again, 529s, 401ks, again, with all due respect, those are completely useless products. And they're fine for the average person. If someone literally doesn't want to be plugged in at all and wants to just not even pay attention to what they're doing, I don't know why anyone would be like that. But if that's your thing, then hey, you know what? Better than nothing. At least you're investing, I guess. Same as last month here for us. I don't have as much in here as I don't plan much until phase 2 kicks off, which again, there's a link in here for what phase 2 means and how that will work and why that is. So please go check that out. Again, a link in the description at the bottom here of the Substack, and you go check that out as to what phase 2 means, what we're waiting for, and how we measure that. Remember, we make money when we buy, like we said earlier. This goes for all asset classes. It's harder to do than it is to say. So we have to be emotionally strong or high EQ. And again, I like things I know a lot about: Bitcoin, real estate, gold and silver. These are controllable assets. I control them for the most part. Real estate's a little bit tougher, but again, it has a decent amount of control. And I'm still studying and learning things and taking courses on stocks and selling options. I want to sell options. I don't want to just be in stuff, but I want dividend paying stocks, and I want to sell options on them, sell calls against them, and create even more cash flow from them. But I'm not ready yet, and it's not phase 2, so we got a number of years here to kind of prepare and educate. and stack more Satoshis. So about 3% in paper currently. So go check that out. Really interesting section there, quite honestly. And the cash in businesses, the last one here, we will put a portion of our cash, checking the time here, a portion of our cash from the rent of our house, and we will put a chunk of it into Bitcoin and secure more art, and Bitcoin trading cards as well. So it's another one. We're going to touch more on this in the future here. Very interesting. And the company that I'm working with and helping and what we're doing here. So more in the strategy in the future. It might interest you on my thoughts here and what's happening, and diversity in assets that will span time. Obviously, it's huge. Art's a massive, massive way that the wealthy have controlled wealth and held wealth over time as well. Land, gold, and art, historically over hundreds and hundreds of years. So this is another way to hedge what's going on, has something to do, but also educate people, which is, aligns with hedging your wealth, but also educating people. The Bitcoin trading cards, I've helped write a lot of them in this series too that just came out. There's a lot more stuff we're working on, children's books and things like that. So educating the masses, educating people, educating children is my passion. It's my number one passion, and we're getting to do a lot of it now. So more about this in the future and what we're doing there. Remember, Bitcoin holders get wealthier over time, so they will be able to purchase things and transfer from the rest of society to Bitcoiners, right? So wealth will be continually flowing to Bitcoiners. And you have something like Bitcoin trading cards, they get more and more valuable because it's scarce, and there's also more, and there's only a certain amount, 21,000 packs for this series, and there's more to talk about in the future. But Bitcoiners get wealthier. So as Bitcoiners get wealthier and they want more Bitcoin things, Bitcoin trading cards is a beautiful way to help educate other people, so they become more valuable over time. Because again, monetary premium and capital will be flowing into Bitcoin and building the network more and more. So again, Bitcoiners that are in now will get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier over time. So it's a circular positive loop, which is amazing. And that's how Bitcoin works. It's in all business aspects and facets. It's absolutely amazing. Completely opposite of the world we live in, the fiat broken world we live in now. And cash on hand, again, is a good way, just having a little bit of cash on hand, 5% of cash on hand, just in case we're wrong, in case there's massive deflation, something happens, and it's completely against what we want to have some allocated there. The DXY, the dollar relative strength, is kind of how we measure that. And so we want to be able to see that here. And crashes usually take 2 to 3 years. So we'll see here. We're kind of at year 2 to 3 coming up in this next year here. So I think the next year or two, we're going to have some real fireworks. I don't know how we're not going to have fireworks. But if we don't have fireworks and they just keep printing to the hilt, well, great. We have Bitcoin to hedge that monetary debasement, and meaning that printing. And Bitcoin doesn't hedge government fake inflation numbers, CPI. It hedges central bank printing, and that's what it's shown now over the last 14 years. So that's how it's an inflation hedge. It's not government inflation. It's the monetary printing is what it does. We have about 15% in cash currently. And again, there's another chart in here about the real inflation numbers from Shadow Stats from John Williams. Phenomenal. I put this in here every month. Absolutely phenomenal to see how they've been lying to you over the last 40 years and how they've obfuscated the numbers. Remember, in ending here, we have spent much of our time the past decade plus talking about preparation, getting ourselves ready for the time that is coming where governments have their hands in every facet of our life. Well, we're here. The government is rolling out the Fed now, which is the digital infrastructure for the CBDC later this month, the central bank digital currency, which we've been warning about for years. Nothing in the system will shield you from this, like Bitcoin, and a little bit of gold and silver, some analog too, food storage, stuff like that. Art, guns, paper, silver, things like that, right? Anything paper or denominated paper can be shut off if someone in government doesn't like what you're doing or saying. Remember, so this could be stocks, insurance, bonds, ETFs, 401ks, pensions, 529s, all that can be shut off. All you got to do is tell one call to Mr. and Mrs. owner of that company. Say, hey, shut that down. Shut your Fidelity account down. This is not hard. This has been happening. Heck, they didn't let people in the hospital to get care if they didn't have something injected into them already. So remember, you don't think these things can happen, but just remember a couple years ago what they were doing, literally putting their lives on the line because people were so backwards and their minds were so broken. So if you don't think that they're going to shut your car off, your electric car, they don't think you're going to shut your insurance payments off or your brokerage account off in the future just because, then we have some more things to talk about. So we have to be prepared for everything. We have to be vigilant. We have to. 30 years ago, did you think the America you are in today would look like it does? Did you think 30 years ago, America would look like it does today? Imagine what it will look like in 10 more years. Prepare accordingly. Stay strong. Appreciate you coming to my TED Talk. Please share this out because the algorithm hates truth. Question everything with boldness. Question everything I said here. Trust but verify. This is not financial advice. It's freedom advice. appreciate you more than you know, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.